China has decided to end its almost legendary one-child policy. The new number of children allowed per family is 2. Hi everyone, my name is Danny Burke, talking to you guys today about the ending of an era that's possibly even bigger than the last episode of Friends. Yeah, I know it's hard to believe, I know, we've got the full story here for you on IO. Okay, so before we get started, I want to know from you guys, what's the strangest rule you've ever heard from? Let me know in the comments below. I once had a rule at my school called the one-way system, which meant that everyone had to walk around the school corridors in one direction. Even if you could see your class 2 doors down, you had to go all the way around. Yeah, that was the weirdest rule by far. One rule that China didn't think was stupid was their one-child rule. In fact, they've had it since 1979. It's been 36 years, and finally it has been lifted, with families now allowed to have 2 children. The government loved the idea, and the only reason they seem to have stopped now is that China's growth rate in population terms has actually fallen lower than America's. Don't worry about the declining population growth rate though, because China still has a whopping population of 1.3 billion people. And this policy was actually brought in as a means of dealing with the country's pretty sparse resources when it comes to food and water. Critics have claimed that the growth rate was going to decline anyway without this policy, and that it did nothing but bad things for China. And they got some pretty good points when it comes to defending that. The main one being that it's actually caused an imbalance in the sex ratio between male and female in the country. Because the traditional preference in China was to have a male child, which meant that there were a lot of adoptions and even abortions of girls going on. One of the craziest things that I find about this whole rule was that if families disobeyed it, they had to pay a penalty in proportion to their own income. Now if they were actually a farmer, they had to pay some of their livestock. Can you imagine trying to explain to your second child that the reason the government is taking your chickens away is because you were born? Yeah, it's just bizarre. Another problem was that because women were becoming so rare in China, there was actually trafficking of brides to men who just couldn't find a wife. This all seems like hell, but the government is claiming that it prevented 400 million births, which helped lift many families out of poverty by easing the strain on the country's resources. But it doesn't end there though. China hasn't solved its population problems. In fact, it seems that the future's not too bright for them. China's sudden drop in birth rate means that in the next few decades there are going to be a lot of old people and not many young people to support them. On average, one young Chinese person could be actually supporting 4 older Chinese people, and that's just not a scenario that's going to keep going forever. This is a story that's been 36 years in the making, and we might have to return 36 years from now just to see what happens. Well, that's all I've got time for in this video. Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, then be sure to subscribe and click these 2 videos over here for more content on IO. Thanks very much for watching, take care, and I'll see you guys in a bit.